Good afternoon. Welcome to our weekly Monday show, the weekend recap presented by True Sun Exteriors and Interiors, as the name might indicate. We're going to recap the weekend with Mitchell Forde here in just a minute, likely with a concentration on Mizzou football and a 43-6 loss at Georgia, but I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Maybe we'll just talk about the weather or other things that happened over the weekend. It's not specific necessarily to Mizzou football. We just promise you it's a weekend recap. So before we get to that, sometimes if you start a project, you can have this plan. You can have an idea in your head how it's all going to go. And then if you hire the wrong person to do it, it can go completely the other direction, and you find yourself back at square one having to start over. That's not going to happen if you hire True Sun Exteriors and Interiors to handle your home project. It is going to go according to plan from the beginning. They're going to keep you up to date on every step of the process, let you know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to work with you to make sure that you get exactly what you want out of your project, whatever you're doing, whether you're remodeling, making an addition, anything that you need, maybe just a little fix-up. They'll be with you start to finish and keep you up to date with great customer service on how everything is going to go. You can get in touch with them at 573-442-7292 on the internet at truesunexterior.com. And please tell them Power Mizzou sent you their way, and let them know that you are paying attention to what we do here on this fine show every Monday afternoon. And we bring in Mitchell Forde now. And, Mitch, sometimes, like I said, you have something and you think it's going to go one way, and then you come out and it goes exactly that way, and you lose 43-6 to Georgia because that's how good Georgia is and that's how far away from Georgia you are. I don't even think – I think actually for about two and a half quarters, Missouri played pretty well on Saturday, and it just didn't matter because if those two teams play 10 times, I think Georgia wins probably 8 of them by 35 points or more.
Yeah, really the only thing that was remotely surprising about that game was that Mizzou led at any point. I think you could have got decent odds on that happening. Then Georgia promptly went on a 40-0 run and, proved why they're the best team in the country. So not too much, more to say about it than that. Georgia's really talented. Mizzou is very much building, and Georgia was the better team.
Yeah, that game was more about Georgia. Now, I will say this. In the first – I don't remember exactly how the scoring went, but in the first 10 minutes or so, when Missouri was up 3-0, it kind of felt like Missouri really missed some opportunities to be up by more. They allowed Georgia to convert, I think, a 3rd and 9 and a 4th and 6. They had kind of a drive-killing penalty. They had some things happen in there, and I don't think the rest of the day would have gone significantly differently if it was 10-0 or 13-0, but it did feel like they got what they needed out of Georgia, which was an uninspired start that kind of said, we're not quite up for this one, and they just couldn't take nearly enough as much advantage of it as they needed to.
Yeah, that was kind of what I wrote Saturday was, I don't think it necessarily made a difference in the result, but if you're going to play the number one team in the country at their place with the backup quarterback, you have to execute perfectly, and Mizzou didn't do that. And, they had drops and penalties stall out the first drive. They had that miscommunication, between Tyler Macon and Tyler Beatty on the second drive. They had Georgia getting that touchdown on the 4th and 5. Georgia converted several 3rd and longs. Mm-hmm. You had, obviously the penalty on the onside kick, even though the game was somewhat out of reach at that point. Several other drops, missed tackle on a 3rd and 10. So there was definitely a few things you could point back to and say, if all those things go the other way, maybe Mizzou at least hangs in there. But at the end of the day, I really think Georgia, if they had to keep the foot on the gas for the last quarter and a half, they could have won by more. Mizzou was never going to win that game.
Yeah, but look, good teams win, great teams cover. And for the first time all year, Mizzou is a great team. They're 1-8 against the spread as they covered the 39-point spread, which I picked them to cover just because I thought what would happen, or what did happen, was going to happen, which was just 39, man. That's a lot of points. There's a lot of ways not to lose by 39. And now Georgia had Kirby wanted to go for the cover. I think we learned that Kirby maybe doesn't look at the odds because he kicked the field goal instead of scored the touchdown. So maybe that's a thing. But I don't know. It's something, man. They covered.
It is. It is. It's notable because it happened for the first time this season. Mizzou's no longer the only team in the country to fail to cover a spread. I'm somewhat convinced that the odds makers were just like, all right, screw it. We're going to experiment and just see how big we can make this and see if Mizzou finally covers because they haven't done it yet. We got to just, we got to see, like, push the limits of this rule.
Yeah, no question. So on the same weekend, by the way, that Mizzou became the last team to cover, UNLV and Arizona both got their first win. There are no winless teams in college football. So as I think it was your dad tweeted, everyone's been happy at least one night in college football. So that's good for the country. Yeah. Look, I don't have a ton more to say about the specifics of that game, obviously, and I want to mention too. See, we've got a couple questions and comments, and if you're here watching live, please throw those in the comment section. We generally kind of freestyle about whatever we want to talk about for the first 15 minutes or so, and then we'll get to some of your questions. But feel free to build them up over there in the comment queue, and we will get to them. But obviously, the question is the quarterback situation. We don't know anything about Connor Bazelak. Like, we found out, I want to say we found out Friday morning, because I do want to give Pete Thamel for credit for being the first person to officially say it. But I think we knew on Tuesday at 1:30 when we got the text that said, you can't see practice this week. Like, we knew Connor Bazelak wasn't practicing and wasn't playing. So we knew at that point it was going to be Brady Cook or Tyler Macon. Now, I'll be interested to see what they do with that practice access tomorrow because, okay, we already know Connor didn't play one game. So if we go tomorrow and Connor Bazelak is not practicing, it's not really news anymore. But by the same token, I kind of fully expect a text tomorrow at 1:30 that says, hey, sorry, change of plans, no open practice, which means Connor Bazelak isn't practicing, and either Brady Cook or Tyler Macon is probably starting against South Carolina.
Yeah, so like you said, we really have, at no point any diagnosis or timetable for his return other than just soft tissue injury, which, as you pointed out, could be truly anything. Mm-hmm. I think that, I don't know. I don't know. I think that if Connor Bazelak is healthy enough to play, that he will probably play because that is how Drinkwitz has operated all season. Mm-hmm. If not, I would guess it will continue to be a split between Macon and Brady Cook. And we'll ask Drinkwitz more about this tomorrow when we get to chat with him for his weekly
I'm sure he'll tell us the truth and be very open.
Yeah, he'll be very transparent and very honest about exactly how it's going to play out. But yeah, so I don't know. That's at least what it looks like to me. And I think now we'll probably get into breaking down a little bit more of what we saw from those two against Georgia.
Yeah, in the absence of any real information, all we can do is guess and give you kind of our. You can decide if it's an educated or semi-educated or uneducated opinion. What I wrote this morning was, look, I watched that game, and to me, I don't know that Brady Cook's the best passer on this team right now, and I don't know that he's the best runner on this team right now, but I think he's the best combination of both, and certainly the best combination of both that they have available. Now, I think both did enough things that they should continue to earn some playing time unless, and we're getting to the point where this is an issue, Eli Drinkwitz says, I really want to have the option of having Tyler Macon available for that fifth year. In that case, and I think we'll probably, I don't know for sure if we'll find out this week because Macon could play in another game and Brady Cook can play in two more before they have to make that decision. But certainly by next week against Florida, we're going to know if that's a thing that Eli Drinkwitz is even thinking about.
Yeah, and I would guess he's not thinking about it, but I could be wrong. I think that the idea, especially with quarterback where you have so much turnover, is, get what we can get out of a guy now. And, if he decides to stick around, like the odds that he's going to still be the starter 4 or 5 years from now are not great because obviously you only play one guy at that position. You recruit someone every year. But it's possible. So, yeah, I mean, I think I went into Saturday's game saying I'm not going to draw really any conclusions because it's Georgia, right? They've made everyone look bad. And so I'm trying to stay true to that. The ththings I will say, I don't think Eli Drinkwitz was lying when he said, Tyler Macon's probably not ready quite yet. He wasn't very crisp and accurate with his throws. We did see a couple miscommunications and guys not being on the same page. Stuff like that. He was, he definitely gave the offense a spark to start to the game. Credit from him. Wasn't scared to go into that environment, provided something with his legs. But I think, I would be hard pressed to find someone who made the argument that he's ready as a passer at this point. Brady Cook, I thought, was obviously better as a passer. almost everything was right around the line of scrimmage. His average depth of target was like 5.4 yards, which is super low. He did have that really nice pass to Kiki Chisholm that I think if Chisholm catches, which he probably should, people start to think a little bit differently about Brady Cook's day. So yeah, I don't know. I personally, I kind of came away with it thinking like, okay, I can kind of see why, Eli Drinkwitz has rode with Connor Bazelak. I probably would have still given Brady Cook and or Tyler Macon a little bit of time in the blowouts, but like, I definitely didn't see anything to say like there's some explanation for why these other guys haven't been playing other than that Eli Drinkwitz likes Connor Bazelak better. But I would be curious to see a little bit more of what they can both do, and specifically Brady Cook against South Carolina if we get the chance.
Yeah, and I don't know. I broke down some of the numbers, and the short passing to me was, making 6 for 12 on passes under 10 yards. Like, if he's going to be your every down quarterback, the accuracy has to improve. And so that could happen, I think, as soon as next year. I don't really see it happening in the next 3 weeks. And I just don't think – I know everybody's in love with a mobile quarterback. And, yes, that needs to be a part of it. But the other half has to – like, your quarterback, if you lean toward I want a quarterback who is a better runner or I want a quarterback who is the better thrower, the main job is still to throw the football. I think you still got to lean on an every down basis toward the guy you feel more confident throwing the football in.
Yeah, I would agree. And I also want to add the other part of, the thing that you can actually kind of draw a little bit of a conclusion about from yesterday is like, and you pointed this out on Twitter, all the people who are saying that the lack of downfield passing was due to the quarterback, I think we saw it's probably a little more due to the system. Now, yes, they were playing Georgia, and probably, Eli Drinkwitz did tell his quarterbacks, we want to get the ball out so you don't get killed because Georgia's defensive line is very good. But, there was not a lot of throwing downfield. I believe the only 2 passes of the day or maybe there were 3, but between the 2 quarterbacks combined attempted over 20 yards, but the only ones that were completed were on the very last drive of the day when Tyler Macon kind of threw up those jump balls to Towski Dove. Before that, it was pretty much all shorter stuff. So, I think that's just kind of the offense at this point, and that goes to kind of your point about needing to be accurate on those type of plays.
It's really pretty incredible how similar to the 2019 Georgia game that was, right? We start a backup quarterback. He's okay, but not great, which you certainly expected. You put in another guy. He's okay, but not great. But then at the end, you get this drive down inside the red zone, and then Georgia goes, you know what, we really kind of decided we don't want you to score, so you're not going to score. It happened in both cases. Very similar games, not particularly competitive. We've talked about that one enough. I want to take some of the questions people have on it. Kyle is saying that the run defense looked better, but the lack of pass rush really killed him on Saturday. The QBs could sit back there and wait for a wide receiver to get open. We talked about this before the show started. Stetson Bennett was comfortable in the pocket, I think is fair to say. He also had some receivers make some incredible plays down the field. Bless you. Those Georgia receivers did make some plays even when they were well covered. The run defense was better. There is no denying that. My question is the run defense better, or was it just that they went in and said, look, we can't just let Georgia run for 8 yards a carry. We're going to devote absolutely everything we have to the run defense, and then whatever else happens outside of that happens. And so is the run defense actually better for South Carolina, or do they have to have 8 guys in the box to play good run defense?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question, and until we see, the overwhelming amount of data we have this year suggests that it's not a very good run defense, so you got to see it a little more consistently. I do think it's cause for at least some optimism, because, I think, against a team like South Carolina, I think you keep the same game plan, sell out to stop the run and make them beat you through the air, and they should be less equipped to do so. They're playing quarterbacks that they picked up off the street. I don't know if it's still that same guy who was previously a grad assistant. Yeah. I don't know who's playing quarterback for South Carolina. I admit I've not
sure they
play a whole lot this season, but I have a feeling that their wide receivers are not as good as Georgia's. I feel like I can go out on that limb, and their quarterback probably isn't either. So, if Missouri can stop, can replicate the success on the ground, and it shouldn't be impossible. They devoted a lot of manpower to it, but also, also Georgia's offensive line is I would say the best Missouri is going to face this season, or at least of the teams left on its schedule. Kentucky's obviously was really good. So if you can do what you did against Georgia and build off that, take some confidence from that, replicate it in some of these games down the stretch, I think that would be huge.
Yeah. All right, Cameron, I'm answering this question because you asked it, and I appreciate you being here and asking a question. I want to express my exasperation with the subject already. Have we gotten any more of an explanation about the Daniel Parker Jr. tweet, specifically the time of it? The short answer is no. The short answer is when he tweeted, like, I'm done with it or something 54 minutes before kickoff, I sent a text, said, is Daniel Parker suspended? No. Is he with the team and in Athens? Yes. He then was on the field on the second snap of the game and played more snaps than any tight end. I will say what I said on Saturday. It is weird that he tweeted 54 minutes before the start of a football game. It is not necessarily a suspendable offense or anything like that. There may be nothing to it. I don't know. I will say I got a text from a former Mizzou football player that said, oh, my God, is he tweeting from the locker room? And this person told me, X number of hours before a game, they were required to turn in their phones before games. Hey, here it is. Now, this guy didn't play for Eli Drinkwitz. It's been a few years. I don't know. But I would think that is pretty standard. I would think tweeting from the locker room is not super encouraged, but I don't have any idea. I don't know. He played on Saturday, and as far as I'm concerned, that's all I really need to know unless I hear something that indicates he's not going to play in the future.
Right, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It stopped being kind of a story for us when he played. And basically at this point, I'm not trying to, dump on the kid or whatever, but he has a track record of putting out fairly cryptic and attention-seeking tweets. I think at this point you just got to kind of acknowledge what the deal is. We'll keep asking every time people think, oh my gosh, is he finally off the team? We'll continue to try to find out, but I wouldn't read too much into it until you hear something concrete like that.
Yeah, fair way to put it. Brett Stevens says, if you see the same things the rest of the way from Macon and Cook, do you have confidence that one of those two or Bazelak can be the quarterback of a 7 or 8 win team next season? And I think that's the bar, right? Because I'll be honest, I don't have confidence based on what I have seen so far and admitting that improvement happens. But I don't have confidence that the guy who can lead a Missouri team to challenging for an SEC East, I don't have confidence that guy's on the roster based on what I've seen so far. 7-8 wins, though? Yeah, if you fix the defense and get Luther Burden in here and find some more receivers and patch up the offensive line, sure, I think that can happen with any of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. 7 wins is not hard to do. Think about this.
Missouri still could win 7 games now.
All right, they could win 7 now, but they could very easily get to 6. You're looking at winning 2 of the next 3. There's roughly a pick'em game this week against South Carolina. They might end up being favored against Florida in a couple of weeks.
Florida done flat quit on Saturday night. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure their motivation will be extremely high coming to Columbia on November 20th.
We might just start seeing opt-outs before that game. Exactly. Florida guys are like, nah, I'm out for the bowl game. Oh, I'm also out for Missouri.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. 7 wins is not hard to get. So, yeah, I could see, any of those guys. But I kind of agree. And, I really don't want to make sweeping conclusions or generalizations based on just the Georgia game. But I do think when you look at the fact that Eli Drinkwitz has really maintained Connor Bazelak gives us the best chance to win this year. Connor Bazelak gives us the best chance to win this year. And then, you see him struggle, and Eli Drinkwitz still says the same thing. And then you see these guys come in, and again, I didn't think they played terrible by any means, but it was a really hard test. But I also didn't see anything to suggest that Eli Drinkwitz's reasoning was false, that he's secretly keeping someone waiting for next year or not trying to burn a wrench or something like that. I do think that as of right now, Bazelak is the best option. And I don't think from what we've seen from him, unless he starts playing a lot better, that he is the guy, like you said, to lead them to the heights that this fan base wants to go to.
The question again to me remains, though, what if one of these guys does play really well this weekend? Yeah. And I don't care which one it is, but let's say one of them has 250 yards total offense, 3 touchdowns. Missouri beats South Carolina 28-24. How do you not start that guy against Florida?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would think you would at this point. I mean, there hasn't been that much positive stuff happen for you this season. If you I mean, this would be the biggest win of the year if you beat South Carolina, so you might as well ride it.
Now, to be fair, we already do have some tangible proof that just because you're doing well does not mean Eli Drinkwitz won't change quarterbacks. It didn't ultimately matter, but I didn't understand that at all. Like, I understand your script is, hey, Macon's getting 2 series and then we're going to cook, but like Macon's 2 series had gone pretty well and you were up 3-0. It seemed like a really weird time to change to me.
Yeah, it was. He had given the offense some juice. Like we said, they should have probably gotten more than 3 points out of those 2 possessions. And then they made the switch to Cook. And really, actually, I thought worse than making the switch was that 3rd down play where they ran the little swing pass into the flat to Tyler Beatty that gained no yardage. And, like, I have no idea if that's the primary, call on that play. Maybe Brady Cook just, looked out there and saw what the defense alignment was and said, oh, this is my only chance. And he made that decision himself. That's very possible. But that was questionable to me because then, you're immediately, Georgia had just kind of started to get a whiff of momentum. You immediately give the ball back to them. And in this case, they blocked the punt and got the safety and scored, and it was over. So,
yeah, we could do a whole show on that punt team alignment, but I'm not really interested in it, to be quite honest. It was clearly a blocked punt. So,
it was something.
Those things happen. So, all right, we kind of want to switch gears because unbeknownst, I think to almost everyone, Missouri's basketball season starts tomorrow night, 7:00 against Central Michigan. You and I will both be there, and we will cover the game. I don't know. This snuck up on me, and I think it largely snuck up on me because Missouri hasn't seemed to really be making a real big effort to tell people they're playing basketball, other than a few tweets here and there, which, hey, I guess that's fine, but I would think they probably would like some people in the stands. They probably would like to build momentum for a program that has 9 new faces and almost 10 because Jordan Wilmore didn't play much last year. But, man, this is taken under the radar Konzo Martin to, like, whole new levels.
Yeah, it's been a little weird, and, like, I don't want to, have this come across as, like, us complaining about access. I know that's been a hot topic.
That's not
lately.
the point.
This is not what this is about. It's just weird because we're going to watch a game tomorrow for a team that we know nothing about, and we cover the team. I mean, we know Kobe Brown and Javon Pickett. That's it. I mean, and those are the only 2 players we've talked to since last season ended. We've talked to Konzo Martin.
No, that's not true. We did talk to some of the new guys in, like, a little impromptu thing in June.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that in June. Yeah, but at least in the run up to this season, I guess. We've talked to Javon Pickett twice and Kobe Brown once. And so, it's weird. Like, I mean, never seen any of these guys play. Never had an exhibition or anything like that where we got to have a sense of, like, even who's going to play, what the rotation's going to look like.
Never even really got any information on the scrimmages.
Right. So it's wild. I'm a little bit. I mean, like, I don't want to say I'm excited because I'm really not that excited to watch basketball in November ever, but especially Mizzou plays Central Michigan. But I'm intrigued to just see, like, what do these guys look like? Are they any good? Like, who plays point guard? Are they really going to do positionless basketball, or is Jordan Wilmore going to play 25 minutes a game? Like, who plays? So it'll be interesting.
And look. We know one thing. Tomorrow night at about 9:15, either Konzo Martin's going to deserve to be fired or all the haters were wrong about this team. Like, there's not going to be an in-between.
Yeah, and if they win, which I assume they will, then it's actually both, because it's all the haters were wrong, but then the people who are unconvinced by a Central Michigan win, which I'm not saying you necessarily should be, will say, well, no, it's just Central Michigan. Wait till they play someone good. And also, did you see that one bad play? He deserves to be fired.
Yes, which is fair. Don't let any evidence change your opinions. Cam asks, in honor of basketball starting tomorrow, so Cam knew before we mentioned it, which team is more likely to play in their respective postseason, football or basketball? So I guess it kind of depends on what we mean by postseason, right? I mean, like, the NIT's still around. I don't think you have to be 500 to get there. Maybe the CBI still exists. I honestly have no idea. Maybe it's the CIL or some made-up thing.
Yeah.
Also, Missouri football could beat South Carolina and go 5-7 and play in the postseason. So I guess as of today, I'd say they're about equally likely. But as far as a postseason you will care about, I guess I would also say about equally likely. No, that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true because football cannot play in a postseason you really care about because they're already, 2/3 of the way through the season, 3/4 of the way through the season. Basketball, I mean, still, like, theoretically, right, they have every shot to play in the NCAA tournament, even if you don't think they're going to.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I don't know. If the question was meant to be NCAA tournament versus bowl game, obviously I would say bowl game's more likely, especially with the loophole of potentially getting in at 5 and 7 because there's far too many bowls.
It's also easier to make a bowl game, yeah.
Right. I was going to say that we really shouldn't equivalent the Birmingham Bowl or the Independence Bowl or the Camellia Bowl or whatever with the NCAA tournament.
Right. We equate those with, like, the NIT? That's about fair, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so, I mean, hey, let's get fired up, right? The Birmingham Bowl against USF and the NIT against Santa Clara. So, that'll be awesome.
All right. I'm ready.
Everybody's getting jacked up for the season. There's your hype. Who needs interviews? We got our own preseason hype. I don't know. I don't particularly have anything else. I mean, it seems weird to me basketball's starting. It seems weird there's only 3 football games left. Missouri needs – look, we need something with buzz, something with excitement, something to get people going. I mean, the Luther Burden thing obviously helped. Recruiting it will be good in the first couple weeks, will be notable in the first couple weeks in December. But it's been a minute since Missouri had something. Well, that's not fair. The mid-basketball season last year, people were excited, but people could use something.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's just it's been a little bit of a slog of a season. I mean, like we've touched on this show many times, like. It was hard to even, like, there was a little bit of buzz before the season, but it was hard to ever get much hope because they lost the first 2 swing games and then, lost the first, 3 SEC games. And it was like, all right, wow, okay, best case scenario. Again, we're going to the Camellia Bowl or whatever. So, yeah, it would be nice if something like, I don't know, crazy could happen. Maybe basketball will surprise some people. Maybe some recruit we didn't previously know about will come onto the radar for early signing day. But, yeah, we don't want you guys to be bored. We want to provide exciting coverage.
Right. Brett says they've had one tweet marketing the actual game itself. Do you think that has to do with the turnover in the athletic department? I think it's a lot of things. I'll be honest, though. Like, I don't think Konzo cares about people paying attention, right? I mean, that sounds bad. Yes, he wants fans in the stands and all that. But he's just like, he just wants to coach basketball. I don't know that marketing is really something, and I'm not sure that's his job, but I also think we got a little bit used to Eli Drinkwitz building this thing up for 6 months every day on Twitter, and that's not Konzo.
Yeah, I agree. I think he cares about attendance. I mean, he brings it up, at least once or twice a season. But, yeah.
But you got to do something to get it.
Right. I just don't think I don't know that it crosses his mind that you need to sell all this stuff. And it really kind of isn't his job. You're right. I mean, it's, his job is to put the product on the floor. So yeah, I don't know. It's always a struggle for basketball when it starts in the middle of football season, especially on a weeknight. But yeah, I would have expected a little more than this.
Yeah. Cam says, shouldn't the influx of new faces cause even a little bit of intrigue? The buzz around the team's as low as I can remember. I mean, you would think so, but again, nobody knows these guys. And again, that is not because we haven't interviewed them. I mean, would that help? Sure, that would help. But, like, I haven't seen them interviewed by, like, Mizzou Network. We've literally not seen them play. There wasn't, like, maybe open a practice for students to come to with some giveaways. There's just been nothing. So it's really hard for there to be buzz when buzz just isn't being generated. I mean, and whether that's intentional or unintentional, I don't have any idea. All right, we'll kind of finish this up with non-Mizzou. The most ridiculous show in the country comes out again tomorrow night, and where they rank the playoff teams for no apparent reason. So I don't care who the top 4 is going to be, because it's going to be something stupid that has Alabama still at probably number 2. But what should it be?
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you one spot with conviction, and that's 1 for Georgia.
Georgia's 1 and 2.
Yeah, other than that, I don't know. I mean, like no one else. I mean, well, I can tell you it won't be Michigan State because they lost. Let's see who else lost.
But if
Wake
it won't
Forest
be
lost, not
Michigan
that they
State,
were
then
in.
it can't be Michigan.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like it won't be. Yeah, it won't be either of those two teams. It won't be Wake Forest, obviously. Not that they were probably going to be in there anyway. I don't know. I mean, I guess like I would. I guess I would go like uh, Georgia, Ohio State, or Georgia. I guess, or I still feel like you got to put Oregon above Ohio State though. But I don't want to put them too. Like I
Right,
don't know.
right.
Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Bama, Cincinnati in some order, and then Oklahoma sixth, I guess.
I would have gone Georgia. Even though I think Ohio State is better, the play on the field has to matter. So I would go Oregon 2, Ohio State 3, and Cincinnati 4. It won't happen.
Yeah, that works. That works for me. I don't know. And then,
I mean,
yeah, Bama and Oklahoma in some way.
Bama has lost a game and would have lost to LSU if LSU's quarterback just didn't stand in the pocket for 28 minutes with the ball on every single snap.
Yeah.
It was maddening to watch.
Yeah, that was. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of wild. I get like it always generates outrage and stuff, but I also don't feel like usually it's like, oh, this team really deserves it and they're being left out. And of course, I'd like to see Cincinnati get a shot, but like no one's making that compelling of a case. Like if anything,
No.
I kind of feel like we should just go ahead and say, all right, we'll just have Georgia be the winner.
Right. Like have a playoff to see who plays Georgia. I could maybe live with that one, but just for giggles, real quick, I want to see what a 12-team playoff would look like this week, because there still are. I mean, number 12 is Ole Miss. Like they're in a 12-team playoff. 11 is A&M. They still have a chance. Oklahoma State's 8-1. Michigan State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon, Oklahoma, Alabama, Cincinnati, Georgia. Number 13 is Wake Forest. Number 15 is UTSA. Who doesn't want to see this? Like, what's the reason we wouldn't do this?
Yeah, and like I get that, it's unlikely one of those teams goes on and wins. Like the best team is probably like going to win, but one, it's not impossible. Upsets do happen in football. Two, it makes it more fun because it gives you a chance. Like we were saying about making the postseason, like Mizzou it never had a chance to make the postseason that actually matters. But in this scenario, they don't even have to be that crazy good. I mean, like you could go 10-2, say Kentucky had beat Tennessee the other night. Like no one is going to say that this Kentucky team is just like some otherworldly talented team, but like they would have had a great chance to make it. So I don't know.
Yeah, there is right now an absolute maximum of 11 teams that has any chance to be in the playoff, and that's even including Notre Dame and Texas A&M, which I'm not sure actually do. But 100% maximum is 11 teams. If you had a 12-team playoff, like Wisconsin at 6-3 and number 20 thinks they have a chance. NC State at 7-2 thinks it has a chance. I mean, Pitt at 7-2 might still think it has a chance. Like, it just makes everybody says it makes the regular season not matter. No, it actually makes people care about the regular season that otherwise don't. Like, okay, Missouri's not going to care next month, right? But if Missouri had beaten Kentucky and BC and they're sitting here at 6-3, all of a sudden Missouri actually cares about the month of November in college football.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it would be fun. Hopefully they get it done sooner rather than later.
I wish more people watch the show. Like, we fixed so many problems. We picked the starting we picked the starting quarterback. We fixed the playoff. We've marketed the basketball team. We fix all the problems, man. So thanks for helping me do that, Mitch.
We should probably stop giving away this genius for free. Start charging.
All right, everybody who is here, pay us $27 before you leave. I don't know how you do that on YouTube, but please super chat us $27 each. That's your charge. We're just going to make up the charge every week. So, all right, Mitch, we'll talk to you later, man.
Sounds good.
All right. You know who else fixes problems, guys? True Sun Exteriors and Interiors fixes all of your problems. Well, not all of your problems, but your problems when it comes to home remodeling and work you need done around your house. Obviously, they've been doing the exterior stuff, siding, roofs, anything like that, additions to the house for a long time. But they've also recently started doing a lot of the interior stuff, remodels, kitchens, bathrooms, new floors, anything you guys need done at your house. They can do it. They'll do it with a smile. They'll do it with great customer service, and they do it with competitive prices. I can tell you that because I have personally used them for multiple projects over the years in my house. So you can get a hold of those guys at 573-442-7292. Big Mizzou fans over there. Talked to Barry Rowe and his team at True Sun Exteriors and Interiors. Thank them for being a part of this show. Thank you guys for being a part of it too. If you're here watching live, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel before you leave. If you are listening on the podcast, just leave us a nice review, leave a nice comment, share what we're doing. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon with the recruiting show with Sean Williams prior to Missouri football practice, media day, and basketball season. So busy week here. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.